Joining us now to further unpack this is Matthew Parks, who is the spokesperson for Cosatu. Mr. Parks, thank you so much for your time and for joining us this evening. As we continue this conversation around Stilfontein and the illegal miners, what are the main concerns for Cosatu in this context?
Good evening. Thanks for having us. Look, I think, four things. I think one is that we must welcome the efforts by the police and the progress they made in helping to rescue people in a very dangerous and difficult situation. I think it's not easy for police officers to manage this issue, and it's not really their responsibility to be managing illegal mining, but I think we do welcome the efforts, and I think there's positive progress, so we must commend the police for doing a good job. I think our issue is that this has been a burning matter for quite some time. Government, in terms of the Department of Mineral Resources, has not managed this issue of illegal mining, of abandoned mines, etc. So that's one issue. And if you look at the targets for the Department of Mineral Resources to address this issue, talking about 6 mines a year, that's far too little. We'll never make the kind of progress. I think we must also really hold the mining companies accountable, because they are the real culprits in this scenario, where they abandon mines, they don't secure them, they don't put in place necessary rehabilitation, which is a requirement of the mining licenses. And there's literally thousands of mines in this scenario across the country. So really the mining companies must be tackled. They have a license, they've got an obligation under that licenses to secure and to close off old mines, and they need to be held accountable. And really the consequence has been that host communities have been subjected to what at times has been rampant criminality in the neighboring communities because of this scenario. But we also need a broader socio-economic discussion about, can we help to formalize artisanal mining? Can we help to alleviate unemployment, especially for ex-mine workers who really have expertise and really want to earn a legitimate legal occupation, legal trade, and allow under safe conditions for them to rehabilitate, to use these old mine shafts to see what can they do to earn a living themselves. But it needs to be under safe conditions. It should not be this kind of dangerous conditions where we're seeing right now. And then, so that, I think for us, those are the kind of the major issues. But we need to stop kind of kicking the can down the road as a country. We need to be addressing this issue, because otherwise we're going to have this scenario, and people will die, host communities will be affected, and the police will be put in a very untenable and a very dangerous situation.
Let's not just hone in on the illegal miners that are currently in Stilfontein. What's your stance on the safety and human rights of these illegal miners? How does the union advocate for their well-being despite their illegal status?
Yeah, look, it's a difficult scenario. This Zamazama mine has been marked by a lot of violence over some time. Violence over access to these mines, turf protections. There are quite some sophisticated criminal syndicates often involved in this issue as well, who are exploiting the desperation of these unemployed ex-mine workers, etc. So it is a very, very messy situation, and a multiplicity of factors, from the abandonment of these mines by the ex-companies, the failure to rehabilitate them, have just really added fuel to the fire. I think for right now, the issue is about helping to enable these workers to get to the surface safely, to save their lives, and to manage a potentially quite a volatile scenario. And I think the progress the police have been able to do over the last day or so, that should be welcomed. So that's the number one issue. But we need, beyond the crisis of today, to really find a longer-term solution to the issue. Otherwise, we're going to have this scenario time and again. People are going to die because these situations are very unhealthy, dangerous. You don't have in place necessary measures to ensure the safety of the mine shafts, to ensure the safety of these workers, and ensure the safety of the community. So we've got to deal with this situation quite soon. And this has been a ticking time bomb for quite a long time. And so we're in a crisis right now because of the failure of the mining companies to do the responsibility. And of course, the failure of the Department of Mineral Resources to hold them accountable. And it really is not the duty of the police to manage the situation, but they're now forced to do so. And I think we must kind of, give them the support they've been able to try to put in place to try to save as many lives as possible. I think, when they're doing a good job, we should also acknowledge that as well.
And speaking about duty and responsibility, I mean, there's been a big debate with regards to government's position with regards to providing food and water to these miners. Do you believe that the government has a moral obligation to assist them?
Look, I mean, government has always got an obligation to try to assist people. How people get themselves into a scenario, that's always another debate. But look, government does have an obligation, a humanitarian obligation, to assist people in a moment of need. You can't deny people assistance because they have maybe made mistakes, maybe broken some laws. Yes, and the government must assist them. And look, so I think that's the humanitarian approach, the disaster relief approach. And I think the Minister of Police has gone and, tried to bring on board experts at search and rescue operations. That's a welcome intervention. We need to manage the situation. Just having a pure law enforcement issue doesn't resolve it. In fact, it can make it worse. You can provoke violence, which is what we want to avoid. So we have to deal with the issue of today, but longer term, we've got to address this crisis. Otherwise, there's going to be many more incidents like this going forward.
And just speaking on that long-term aspect, I mean, how does this situation just then reflect on the broader issue of illegal mining in South Africa? And you keep raising the accountability and the responsibility of the mining companies in rehabilitating some of these mines. Do you think this will push government to ensure that the rehabilitation process now happens timeously to avert such situations?
We hope so. We hope that this crisis can put a spotlight on an issue that we've been neglecting as a nation for quite some time. The backlog of old mines that need to be properly secured, have in place security and so forth, and also old mines that need to be rehabilitated, etc., is in the thousands. And the Department of Mineral Resources will never have enough money to manage the situation. The obligation legally is upon these mining companies. They need to be held accountable on this issue. We do appreciate that many of these mines are so old and the owners have simply abandoned, etc. So it can become quite a difficult scenario. So there does need to be a collective response by the mining council, by the industry as a whole, but they also help contribute to managing the situation. Because the consequence if they don't do that, you will find illegal miners going to out of desperation of poverty and looking for work. That puts them at risk because there are no safety mechanisms for those mines. And of course, we're putting the host communities next door also severe risk as well, because there are real problems of socioeconomic activities taking place illegally, of crimes taking place, etc. And again, we're putting the police officers' lives at risk too, because they're now having to deal with a very volatile situation, which is really far beyond their capacity to manage. So we hope this crisis will force the Mining Council, the DMRE as well, the Department of Mineral Resources, to really find a solution. But if you look at, the allocations and the targets for the department annually to address the situation, they're looking at about 6 mines a year. And that really is not even a drop in the ocean. It's less than a drop in the ocean, given the thousands of mines we're talking about. So something's got to be done quickly. Otherwise, we should not complain afterwards when we see bodies every now and then piling up.
In the 4 factors that you mentioned at the start of the conversation with regards to how Cosatu views the situation, you mentioned the consequences on the communities that are hosting some of these mines. What impact does this illegal mining have on those local economies in those communities? And how does Cosatu view the relationship between illegal miners and the formal labor practices within that sector?
Yeah. No, because we've entered a kind of a gray zone here, where the mining companies have abandoned their duty, they've been allowed to get away with it, where the government has not enforced the rule of law. It really has created a wild west. You've seen mine workers out of desperation entering these very dangerous abandoned mines. And often you've seen quite sophisticated criminal syndicates exploiting that. And really, that's why you've seen turf wars, violence underground in these mine shafts. And that spilled over into the neighboring communities. We saw, incidences last year in Krugersdorp and other neighboring mining communities where the violence, the criminality spilled over into the communities, defenseless communities, where women have been exposed. We see the incidences of quite violent, gender-based violence, attacks on women in the neighboring communities. And it really is unacceptable. South Africans, ordinary communities should not be subjected to this kind of level of violence or criminality. And I think we've far too long, we really normalized criminality across society. We've allowed people to get away with very brutal, violent crimes. And so communities are right to expect the government to enforce the rule of law. But we need a comprehensive solution, because you can take law enforcement so far, but you need a holistic socio-economic situation where people are desperate to work, especially ex-mine workers. If you look at the retrenchment of mine workers over the years, it's horrific. We had about 1 million mine workers in the 1980s. Today, it's about just over 440,000. And every year, you'll see mining companies retrenching thousands of mine workers into absolute poverty. And so, yes, there, of course, people are going to, out of desperation, go to these abandoned mines, utilize their skills. So we do need to find a solution where we help to ensure safety, help to normalize artisanal mining, make sure people can do so in a safe environment, away from the exploitations of criminal syndicates, and that the necessary health and safety measures are put in place. And of course, if you can do so, you can also ensure that the neighboring communities are also safe as well. And again, you can also help to ensure the labor rights of these workers are also put in place, whether it's injury on duty insurance or the health and safety standards as well. But right now, it's a worst case scenario. And hence we're seeing this kind of, I don't know, what is what put us, it's just a giant mess, and we got to address it once and for all.